Hey guys! Welcome to the Turkish Spotlight Secrets channel. All the juicy details are in today's video, so make sure you're subscribed and share this story with your friends before we dive in. Thank you so much. Last night, a moment of pure chaos rippled through the acting world, and at the center of it were Erkan and Hazal Sabesai. Fresh off a flight from an overseas project, Erkan touched down in Istanbul and, within minutes of the plane doors opening, everything changed. As eyewitnesses tell it, his phone lit up while he was still moving through the jet bridge. Whatever he heard made his expression drop in an instant. Those nearby saw him pivot, abandon the path to baggage claim, and start for the exit with such urgency that even his assistant struggled to keep up. Word had reached him, Hazal Sabesai had been taken to the hospital due to a sudden illness. People at the airport recalled the sound of Erkan's voice slicing through the commotion as he hurried to the parking lot, saying, "Take me to the hospital now." He didn't even glance at the carousel. No luggage, no pause, no small talk. Witnesses described his steps as fast, almost restless, one hand pressed to his phone, the other waving his driver forward. In the back seat, he alternated between tense calls to the hospital, to his agent, and to a couple of mutual friends who were already on site. Sometimes his voice rose, demanding clarity. Other times he fell silent, staring out the window, jaw tight, as the car wove through traffic. By the time he reached the emergency entrance, the atmosphere had already shifted. News spreads fast in this city, and the presence of a star typically draws attention, but last night the energy felt different. Urgent, breathless, unsettled. Security struggled to corral a curious crowd that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Erkan kept his head down and went straight for reception, barely acknowledging the cameras and phones lifted toward him. Staff later said he was polite but focused, his words quick and clipped. He needed to know how Hazal was doing, which room she was in, who her doctor was. He was soon guided away from the commotion and briefed in private, though no official statement was provided about her condition. From the hospital side, the message was careful and concise. Tests were underway, doctors were running evaluations, no definitive update could be shared yet. But whispers in the corridors, and from friends close to Hazal, hinted that she had felt unusually weak during the day, fighting waves of fatigue and nausea before deciding to go in for a checkup. It sounded routine, even precautionary. Still, the image of Erkan arriving in a near panic made people wonder if something more serious was happening behind closed doors. That tension sparked a social media blaze. "Erkan didn't leave Hazal alone" began circulating as a rallying cry, and within hours, photos and shaky clips of his hurried arrival flooded timelines. Fans of the pair, who have followed every rumor and reunion between them for years, stayed up late refreshing feeds and sending prayers for calm news. Inside the hospital, Erkan reportedly kept his circle tight. He spoke only with a few close friends and, according to onlookers, ignored the press inquiries completely. After physicians finished the first round of checks, he was allowed into Hazal's room. No one knows exactly what was said between them, but the door stayed closed for a long time. People passing by noticed the steady stream of nurses, the quiet orders from doctors, the way Erkan paced the hall when he stepped out for updates. The sight of him waiting there, steadfast and unflinching, refueled long-standing talk about the nature of their relationship. Were they simply bonded by years of shared work and history, or was there a deeper tie that never truly faded? His silence only fed the speculation. As the night wore on, the online frenzy grew louder. A second wave of posts pushed the hashtag Erkan Hazal into the trending lists, while fan pages assembled timelines of the evening from airport to hospital. Some shared old clips of their on-screen chemistry alongside last night's images, turning the moment into a symbolic return to a connection many have always believed exists off-screen as well. Others urged restraint, reminding everyone that health comes before gossip. But the conversation kept circling back to the same emotional snapshot. Erkan running through the terminal without his luggage, one focus in his eyes: get to Hazal. Hours after his arrival, sources inside the hospital continued to maintain that tests were ongoing and any additional information would be confirmed by doctors. It was emphasized that Hazal had not collapsed in public, Nor was there any dramatic ambulance scene. She had felt unwell, had chosen to get checked, and was under observation. Even so, fans clung to every scrap of detail as though it were a lifeline. Outside, a small crowd formed, quiet but determined, exchanging updates and passing around phone chargers and bottled water. A few who managed to glimpse Erkan when he stepped back into the corridor described a face more relieved than before, but still tense, like someone living in the pause between breaths. As dawn edged closer, a second retelling of the night's whirlwind began to crystallize from the fragments. Erkan, returning from a demanding overseas commitment, had barely set foot on Istanbul soil when the call arrived. He did not delegate, he did not hesitate, he did not outsource concern. He ran. In the car, he reached for answers, his voice occasionally breaking with urgency, and then falling into long silences that betrayed how much was pressing on him. On arrival, he cut through the noise, insisted on immediate updates, and settled into the rhythm of the hospital's endless waiting, refusing to leave as long as Hazal needed him close. Security tried to keep things calm as the press gathered, but the story spread faster than any barrier could hold. From the emergency entrance to the corridor near Hazal's room, the path was lined with the unexpected theater of late-night television, whispers, and flashing lenses. Through it all, Erkan kept his attention fixed on the only detail that mattered to him, Hazal's condition. The two have always inspired a particular brand of public fascination, part nostalgia, part hope, and last night amplified it. The more he stayed, the more people said it aloud, he would not walk away from her side. The phrase "Erkan didn't leave Hazal alone" became more than a headline, it turned into a portrait of the night itself, painted in real time by thousands of observers. Later, another layer of the scene emerged from those who claimed to be present when he first entered the emergency wing. They say he moved with urgency but never caused a commotion, that he thanked the staff even while pressing for information, that he asked for the doctor's name twice to make sure he heard it right. In one moment, a nurse reportedly placed a reassuring hand on his arm and told him, "We're taking good care of her." He nodded, exhaled, and stepped back, as if trying to find a piece of ground that wouldn't shift beneath him. When he finally disappeared behind the door to Hazal's room, the hallway quieted, as if everyone collectively decided to give them a measure of peace. Of course, the lack of an official diagnosis invited wild theories. People speculated about exhaustion, stress, a sudden drop in blood pressure, something viral, something dietary, every possibility under the sun. But the fragments closest to the truth kept circling the same points: a day of weakness, bouts of nausea and fatigue, the decision to go in before things escalated. Even so, Erkan's visible anxiety suggested to many that he feared more than a routine scare. That contrast, calm hospital lines versus the urgency on his face, created the emotional friction that drove the conversation all night long. From there, the energy spilled back out onto the internet with renewed force. Fan accounts posted split-screen edits, on one side, their early days of collaboration, on the other, last night's grainy footage. Comment sections filled with messages like "We're praying for Hazal," "Erkan, stay strong," and "Love is showing up when it matters." Some who claimed insider ties promised that she was stabilizing, while others urged patience until the doctor spoke. Through it all, one thread never changed. Erkan remained on site, stepping away only to speak with staff or answer a quiet call from someone in their inner circle. By midday, the question hanging over everyone was simple: when would there be a statement? People wanted something concrete, proof that the worst had passed, a sign that Hazal would be discharged soon, a glimpse of Erkan walking out with a measured smile instead of a clenched jaw. Whether the two would address the night together became the tantalizing possibility. Would we see them side by side, offering thanks and a brief explanation? Or would they continue to keep their private world sealed, letting gestures speak louder than words? Either way, the moment had already carved itself into the lore that surrounds them. What began at the airport and surged through hospital corridors last night has become the day's defining topic. It isn't just a story about an unexpected health scare. It's also about what happens when public figures, whose bond has been debated for years, drop every mask and let instinct take over. Erkan's sprint through the terminal without his luggage, his sharp plea, take me to the hospital now. And the way he planted himself at Hazal's door tell you everything you need to know about priority. And Hazal, choosing caution and care by seeking medical attention at the first sign of trouble, reminds everyone that even the strongest have days when the body says, slow down. Right now, the official line remains measured. Doctors are finishing their evaluations and, as of the last update, plan to share information once they are confident in their findings. Friends who visited quietly say she's resting and responsive, that the worst jitters in the room faded as the night gave way to morning. As for Erkan, he hasn't made a statement, but he hasn't needed to. Presence can be louder than any press note. Every minute he stayed said what words could not. If Hazal needed him, he would be there. We'll be watching closely for the discharge announcement and any comment they choose to make together. Until then, the image remains vivid. An actor rushing through a terminal, a car slicing through the night, security holding a line, a door closing softly behind two people who have always had a complicated gravity between them. The industry felt the quake because it wasn't a performance, it was real life showing its hand. Fans felt it too, because it fulfilled what they've always suspected. That when it matters, the past and present between Erkan Merrick and Hazal Sabasai meet in the same room, and everything else waits in the hallway. That's what we have for now. As soon as doctors finalize their results and a statement is shared, we'll bring you every verified detail, without the noise. You've been watching Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and share so others can stay in the loop. Take care, and we'll see you in the next update.